Hi everyone, welcome to Witch Hollow Homestead. With the winter solstice fast approaching, I thought I would get back to making some warm, comforting foods for the channel and also think about gift giving when it comes to winter solstice. I love to give practical gifts, whether it's a canned good, it's a salve I've made, a tincture, or some fresh homemade bread. So today I am going to show you how I make a loaf of chocolate cinnamon sourdough bread. Let's get started. We're going to start with our scale on grams and our bowl, and I am going to add 310 to 320 grams of room temperature filtered water. Tare the scale and add 100 grams of active bubbly sourdough starter. Give it a quick stir in order to mix the sourdough starter and the water together. Next, we're going to add 450 grams of bread flour. I want this bread to have a very strong cinnamon taste, so I am adding 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Add 10 grams of salt, and then 45 to 50 grams of mini chocolate chips. I prefer the mini chocolate chips because I feel they incorporate better into the loaf as opposed to the regular size chocolate chips. We're going to give it a good stir, and as the dough begins to come together, I'm going to take my bread scraper to scrape the bowl and finish incorporating the ingredients. When I did this, I felt that it seemed a little dry. So going forward, I would recommend adding another 10 grams of water in the beginning. So instead of 310, add 320 grams. The goal with this first step is to just bring all the ingredients together. I don't want to start kneading the bread. I want it to rest and have the flour slowly absorb all of the moisture. So I'm going to take a damp towel and cover this for 45 to 60 minutes. It's been an hour and the bread is ready for the first stretch and fold. I'm going to begin by dampening the counter a little bit with some water and make sure my hands are also a little damp to touch the bread. And I'm just going to do anywhere from 7 to 10 turns of this slap and fold technique. And then I will cover it with the damp towel again and let it sit for 15 minutes. It's been 15 minutes and we are now going to do our stretch and folds. I'm going to moisten my hands again with just a little water. And as you can see, the dough is starting to get really stretchy, which is a good sign. So I'm going to do 4 stretch and folds this way, and then I'm going to flip it around. And the other side, I will try to do stretch and folds, but after a while, they just become tuck and folds because the dough starts to tighten. I'm going to cover the bread and let it sit for another 15 minutes. It's been 15 minutes and we are now ready for our bulk rise. I have my glass jar here that I like to use to raise bread in. I put a little bit of olive oil in it, and then I'm just going to rub the olive oil into the inside so that the bread does not stick. I'm going to perform a few tuck and folds here and get it nice and tight before I place it in my glass jar. I'm going to let this raise anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. It just depends on how warm the spot is that you're placing this bread in. I'm going to put mine in front of the fireplace. It's been 6 hours and the bread is ready because it has doubled in size. You don't want to knock all the air out of your bread, so just very carefully remove it from your bowl. I'm going to just very gently take it and do a couple of tuck and folds, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes on the counter before I place it in the Banneton basket. The 15 minutes are up and we're now ready to shape this loaf and get it in the fridge. So I'm going to very lightly flour the surface and my hands and then stretch my bread out. I'm going to be putting this into a boulet Banneton basket, so I will be folding it for that specific shape. Place the loaf in the refrigerator overnight, and then early morning, we'll get up and bake it. It's the next morning, and I'm preparing to bake my loaf of chocolate cinnamon sourdough. I'm going to put a tray underneath on the lower rack, and then I'm going to put my cast iron pan in above that, and I found that that helps from your loaf burning on the bottom. I'm going to set my oven to 450 degrees and I'm going to let it warm up for 40 minutes. Once the 40 minutes are up, we can get our loaf out and start scoring it for the oven. As soon as I opened the bag on this bread, I could smell the cinnamon. It was so comforting and so warming. I was ecstatic to bake this because I knew the whole house was going to smell like cinnamon. I'm going to lightly dust my loaf with some flour, and then I will score it. We're going to bake this loaf of bread for 20 minutes with the lid on. And then in 20 minutes, we're going to take the lid off and then bake it for additional 18 to 20. The loaf came out perfectly, and the house smelled amazing all day long. It was like living in a fresh bakery. Thank you so much for joining me at Witch Hollow Homestead today. I hope you found this video helpful and inspiring. Let me know in the comments what flavored sourdough loaf you like to make every year for the holidays. Happy homesteading!